the root of depression and what is depression?
Okay, depression. Now, we hear a lot about depression. Again, person always lacking some energy. If you don't know how to get this certain energy, that's where it starts from. For example, the difference between lion in a cage and lion free in savannah or lioness, the first one that is in the cage gets free food, free shelter, right, and free medication. But the biggest difference, the one in the cage, he cannot get energy that he needs and that he wants. The one in savannah can get any amount of energy, anytime, usually almost any time, because the one in cage has to wait until somebody will bring him a piece of meat, that energy. Maybe it's fresh, maybe it's what he needs, maybe it's not what he needs, but he has no choice. So that fear, that's the cage that people putting themselves into, and have to wait for this energy. They cannot just go and get whatever they lacking, whatever they need. Now, if you cannot get what you need, the energy that you need, relationship, let's divide life, let's say circle of life, in 4 quadrants. First, let's call it relationship, love, relationship, everything, family, friends. Second, business, job, work, everything. Third one, health, health of the person. And the fourth one, it's self-evolvement. That's what we lack, a lot of people lacking. Now that self-evolvement, it also needs to, in every aspect, in every quadrant, you need certain evolvements. For example, your health, if you don't do nothing about that, like no exercise, I'm not talking about food because I don't think it's really important for the nutrition, it's secondary. It's all, it's all a fact also, food, but still to keep you, in so feeling, you feel different if you don't exercise. Now, relationship, the same thing. If you don't evolve, if you don't study, people, I think a lot of people lacking knowledge, relationship, all kind of relationship, partner in business, between employees, between other people. So if you don't evolve in one of these and you multiply it on a 0, and you multiply all these quadrants and all circle of life, you multiply on a 0, because you have to put some effort, 2%. Well, 25, it's ideal, but it's hard to keep balance. But put 2%, if you're gonna do 0, you're gonna multiply everything. That's first step toward depression, because you multiply one of these quadrants on a 0, or relationship, or you start working 16 hours a day, or you start work out 16 hours a day. Understand? So something is lacking. Now, second thing, it's even more important. That's the fears you need to get rid of, because if you have this fear, you're gonna put yourself in this cage that we just talked, like a lion sits in the cage and he's waiting until you bring him piece of meat. So I don't think, it's in person, it's lion maybe even doesn't really realize what's, but person understand. It leads to worse depression when he puts himself in his cage. It's like you're in a prison. Not every person can stay in prison. Not everybody is like the president of South Africa was Nelson Mandela. He was 26 years in prison. He got out and he became president. Not everybody can do that. In 16 years from this 26, he was in a 2x3 small cage with nothing in there. No restroom, just a bucket and a blanket on the floor. That's it. That's what he had. So it all depends on the person. You know, right now, people complaining. We're in this. Everybody stays at home. We work from home. We live. So again, it depends on the person. Some people you can break the person. You know, if it's in prison or all the time at home, it you know, it can start to develop depression and other problems. That's also one of the roots. You know, if you stay home all the time, not everybody. You work from home, you all day long at home, so obviously you need to get out. And for me personally, I don't see any difference in between 2018, 19, or 21. I mean, the only difference I see is mask. Everything else, I personally don't care if I eat out or eat inside. Doesn't matter. So it's not big difference. Or whatever. You can go to park, even if it's park closed. Now they're all open, but you could still, you know, walk around and do stuff. So when they start complaining, I mean, a lot of people, they like to complain. It's nothing even to do with the problems that we're running into. You know, they're gonna complain anyway. Give them $1 million, give them a best job, and he's gonna complain anyway. So it doesn't matter. Now let's get back to this depression. The fear that it starts, we say fears that leads to panic attacks, phobias. It's all connected. If you cannot get those fears, it's gonna lead. For example, a person who is doing, because of the depression, they start doing drugs. Now, usually, if we go back to vector psychology, one of the vector, it was dermal vector. It was one of us in the tribe. Skin is more sensitive than other people. They first who start losing hair. That's dermal. Now their body structure is different even from other people. Metabolism a little faster. Sometimes they have this people, these psychologists, they label them ADHD and all that stuff because they cannot stay at one place for too long. Because in ancient times they have to run and chase the deer. They have this energy to burn. Now they don't do that. Even if we evolutionize, they still have to burn this energy, especially kids with dermal vector. They have to exercise before they start school, and between classes they have to exercise. Otherwise, they're not gonna able even to focus. Now, that person with dermal vector, its skin and its body has low threshold of pain. They feel pain better than other vectors. If you abuse this child in the childhood, you beat him up, or psychological abuse, physical abuse, it's very easy to break through this pain threshold because every vector has different level of pain threshold. Somebody you can beat every day, nothing is gonna happen. But the dermal vector, especially with audio or visual, so if you beat him up, the body doesn't want to go through pain, your body. So when you go through pain, your body starts to produce natural opiates, endorphins, like feeling good. Now, when you go through pain and you get those endorphins, you start to enjoy from these endorphins because you're going through pain all the time. Now, you get used to it. So when abuse stops, you start looking for abuse because it gives you these endorphins when you go through pain. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot find this abuse or pain, then it's first step toward drugs because you need these endorphins that you're lacking. And sometimes teenagers or even adults that provocate, they do on purpose, they look for fights with their partner, at work, everywhere, because they lacking it. That's the dermal vector. So if they not gonna go through this pain, now another thing, it's very important to recognize and really understand how it works because it can lead to really bad, serious stuff. If person goes through pain and enjoys, is looking for more because in our lives we're always looking higher and higher in everything. We want to raise more money, better house, and so the same thing with pain. You start looking for more. If person starts as BDSM, masochistic, sadistic stuff, these games, if he goes through more and more pain, he lifts his threshold, pain threshold, higher and higher. So he needs more and more pain. You understand? It can lead to really bad things. Then, if the other vector, anal vector, it's the other side. It's sadistic. It's the other opposite from dermal. So they looking for different way to get their endorphins.
Mm-hmm.
And if they cannot, they become sadistic. And also, we're gonna talk about anal vector a little bit. So we'll get more idea about that. But we'll go back to dermal. It's also a step toward depression because you cannot get your endorphins. You cannot feel good. Now the same thing psychologically. If you cannot get those endorphins in psychological abuse, you start to get this lack of endorphins gonna lead also to depression. And what you do, you start to on purpose, you start to do certain things that leads to failure. You on purpose want to get fired. You on purpose want to be abused. On purpose look into, you can say, troubles, and then it can go all the way through your life. Like a lot of homeless people, that's why they're in the streets, because a lot of them, the dermal vector, they enjoy to be abused and be, because that's how they get their endorphins. You understand what's vector psychology? That's also a big step toward depression if you cannot get your endorphins, because people want to feel good, right? Everybody. But you don't know how. You start buying drugs, doing drugs. Anal vector, most likely they start drinking alcohol because it's different type of endorphins. Mm-hmm. Every one of us needs different endorphins. So